Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Carl. I'm a recovery coach here at Cab Recovery Center. Today is our family meeting, and the topic I have is stages of recovery. An article is by SoberNation.com. So, if you like this article and you would like it, you can go to SoberNation.com, and it is stages of recovery. So, we'll hop into it. Recovery is a very subjective term, and everyone has a different definition of recovery means to them. Addiction can take hold quickly. Addiction is a complicated disease that is classified as both a mental illness and chronic disease. If you are trying to reach sobriety, one thing is for sure, it doesn't happen overnight. There are stages of recovery that all addicts and alcoholics go through. Stages of recovery offer some insight into how sobriety is achieved. As with addiction process, there is also a recovery process. Once an individual has realized that they have a problem and are willing to ask for help, they have now stepped into the process of recovery. The addict now begins a journey through four distinct stages of recovery from addiction as they learn to develop a clean and sober lifestyle. Because of the personal and intimate qualities of addiction, no two people will follow the exact same path of recovery. Even with so many influences and factors through most recovering addicts will pass through similar phases and stages on their walk from the depths of addiction to the freedom of sobriety and long-term abstinence. If you attend treatment just as progressed as a tailored program designed for you, it is reasonable to expect that your pace of recovery will depend on multiple factors. These include your degree of commitment, emotional and physical state or mind. Physical recovery from substance abuse is a lengthy process in which improvements in all other areas of our functioning do not necessarily follow absence. So the stages of recovery is like the mental, physical, and spiritual. We have to hit on all stages to obtain long-lasting recovery. And there's like all stages through life. There's all stages through addiction. There's all stages through recovery as well. And some of them they're going to hit on here. And the first thing we have here is what is recovery from addiction? So let's see what this is about. Many people have different definitions regarding what recovery from addiction consists of. Some may view it as an event that happens when the individual stops using alcohol or drugs. For others, sobriety consists of an ongoing process that may have even begun before the individual actually quits their addiction. Other individuals may view recovery as equivalent as serving a prison sentence where their perspectives become negative about it. The individuals are deprived of their favorite crutch, and the most optimistic thing they can do is to count the days. For those people, sobriety is equivalent to freedom and a chance to completely rebuild their lives. There's no one definition of recovery that everyone will agree upon. That's true. But there does seem to be a lot more to it than simply not using alcohol and drugs. If that were the case, then all addicts would be in recovery before they got there first. Hit in the morning. Recovery is all about changes and growth, involves developing a new way of living that will produce a level of happiness and peace that was never previously experienced by the individual. For some people, sobriety can bring a level of happiness and content contentedness with life. These stages may be used as a guideline of what most people need to go through in order to find the emotional sobriety that most of us are truly looking for. So it talks about happiness, right? Peace. But from my experience and seeing of others, that being completed absence is a great thing, and that's first and foremost. But continuing to change and grow, like putting the work in, is where the recovery process begins to unfold. Right? I wish it was that easy of putting the drugs and alcohol done, and that's that's it, right? But like it doesn't work that way, and it doesn't happen overnight, right? So for me, just my opinion, my observation, is like recovery starts when I, put that drugs and alcohol down first. Then you can begin to change and begin on the journey of recovery. Whatever that looks like for you. Sometimes you know, medication needs assistance, need to be assisted. Some with the mental illness aspect. There's all different walks of life of recovery for different individuals, right? Everybody's not the one same pathway for everybody. Just it's not the case. For me, long as you're not using, right, and you're changing and continuing to change and do good in life, and not saying perfect, right, but like changing, consistently changing. That's the recovery process. And it needs to be done. We can't just stay stuck and just not use drugs and alcohol, right? There's a lot more to it than being absent. you know. So we'll go to stage one, acknowledgement. In order to progress through all the stages of recovery, a person must first acknowledge that they even have an addiction problem to begin with. This involves a growing awareness of the situation. In some cases, realize can come from a multitude of things, including legal matters, conversations with friends and family members, or health and employment problems. Although the addict has come to realize and acknowledge this situation, it does not mean they have stopped using. However, the first stage is critical in progression with the additional stages, but just because a person realizes they have a problem doesn't mean that they want to change it. This stage merely happens when the addict phases out in denial and realizes the reality of the issues they have caused. Once they become aware of this, they have moved on towards sobriety. One cannot begin to solve a problem or even begin to achieve any kind of goals without acknowledging what needs to be done. One of the most important part of this phase and the transition from mere awareness of the problem to actually acknowledge that action is needed. Few experiences as are essential to an addict at the moment when he or she shift from denial to willingness to make a change. So we're talking the stage of acknowledgement. And sometimes that's hard to accept and acknowledge that we have a problem, right? So, we don't see, as in the recovery process, we talk about, we can't see ourselves coming sometimes, right? Other people can see it before we do because we're in it. A lot of times we see it like after, whatever situation is done. And when we get on the other side of it, it's like, wow, all right, I have a problem, or I've done that and something's going on, right? But we're talking about this as a family meeting, right? So a lot of times, the family, addresses it, right? And tells us like something's not right, something's wrong, and hopefully they can support you and help you through that, the tough times of addiction, right? And thank God I still have the support I do, and my family stuck by me no matter what, right? If I didn't have that support, I don't know where I would be. I had a lot of grace and mercy upon me, but like, it's just I can see how tough it is on the aspect of the family, of the family member, because now I'm in recovery and I see others wrapped up in addiction, and then like it's tough because like I want to shake them and show them the way, and like we can say and say everything and it sounds good and but they don't see it until they can see it in themselves. That's where it happened for me. Like because I do a 12-step program, and people talk like me, they share like me, they sound like me, they've been through the same stuff as me, and and done a lot of the same things as me. And like, but that I didn't feel a part of still, right? It's just I'm different than everybody else, right? You can stay clean and you're doing things, but I can't, right? I always doubt myself out. Like it talks about acknowledgement, right? I always knew I had a problem, but I wasn't willing to fix it. Like knowing things and having all this knowledge, right? Not just the addiction, but like in life in general. Um, but not applying it, it just really doesn't mean anything, right? So, action is a big part of recovery. So we'll go to stage two, consideration. This stage of recovery is a very important step in becoming willing to change the problem, or at least explore and learn more about doing so. The addict becomes ready to take the first step towards full recovery, often learning more about their addiction and the impact it has had on their lives and the lives of people they love. See, not just impacting on your life, addiction does, it impacts the family and all the people around you also. By taking the step of learning more about their disease and its effect of others, acts in the consideration stage make the important transitions from awareness through time. They are gaining potentially valuable information, insights in the process. This stage bridges the gap between thought and action through not yet achieving, pursuing recovery. They are moving toward that direction through willingness and a change in perspective. Um, yeah, consideration. I had lack of consideration, but I wasn't considerate of anybody. It was always about me and what I wanted, what I could get. And that denial and justification, rationalization. I would, my head saying like I'm only hurting myself. Like I knew I was hurting others, but I didn't know the extent, right? Like how much really damage I was causing my family and friends and society around me was terrible. Like, I was a menace. And we don't see that stuff until we start putting the drugs and alcohol down and we start to gain a conscience, awareness, so acknowledgement, and having some empathy and some consideration for others that we start to feel right. That's one thing I was doing is trying to numb my feelings and emotions with drugs and alcohol, and I would cause more harm, right? To use more, it was just a back and forth battle of a vicious circle of drugs and alcohol, right? So exploring recovery is the next one. So stage three, exploring recovery. In this phase, we see the action begin through small steps. Here we see the person beginning to research options to escape their addiction. At this stage, the recovery process has begun. This is the time when the addict or alcoholic come to the crucial decision to seek treatment. For these issues, they may consult with family or friends in relation to their addiction to learn more about themselves or begin finding sober contacts and support groups within the community. At this point, the emotional pain for the addict has gotten so great that now they are willing to make a change. However, this can occur very so slowly. Yeah, I would say, I had to be beaten to become willing. I had to hit my bottom after bottom after bottom, and like I lost a little piece of me every time, I would use, and it came to a point where like the drugs and alcohol wasn't working anymore. The pain got so great, and I got so desperate, that I had to change. It was came to a point where I didn't have anything. My next step was dying. And we try to hold on to the illusion of feeling good, right? I want to drink, I want to use, and because we want to feel good. We have a good time, right? Which is really the illusion of like it's not working, right? Because I'm losing this or not losing. I'm giving this away. I don't have anything. I don't have healthy relationships. I don't have a job. Don't I didn't have anything. So I had to like see the pros and cons of like what's going on, right? And we're very distorted, very cloudy, um, and our perception's very confusing, and like a lot goes with it, and we're lost, confused, until I gave myself a chance, gave myself a break, and you know, it takes courage, it takes strength, and it takes help. That's one thing I've learned in recovery. I need help on a daily basis. And that's okay too. Because like our pride and ego can set in and like, I don't need it. I don't need help. I can do this. I tried that for a long time, tried to do it on my own to get clean and sober and like stay that way. It just didn't work for me. Let's go to stage 4, early recovery. In early recovery, addicts usually enter into some type of treatment or have sought out outside therapies for their issue. It is at this point in the stage of recovery that they stop using, learn about addiction, and begin to learn alternate coping skills other than drugs or alcohol. Talking about coping skills there, yeah. I didn't have no coping skills. I had no healthy outlets like doing positive stuff. Everything I was doing and surrounding myself was negative. Like I talk, definitely, coping skills is a very crucial thing in recovery or just in life in general. During early recovery, the addict is very vulnerable. They are currently navigating the journey of abandoning people, activities, and behavior that have been significant parts of their use and careers. However, they have yet to fully establish the foundation of their newly sober lives. They begin to learn how to remain drug and alcohol free for the long term. This is a very fragile stage where they begin practicing new behaviors and ways of thinking during this stage. It is not uncommon for relapse to occur. Slipping back into well known behaviors, however, it is during this time that the addicts may have not fully developed the skills that we prevent them from blacksliding to so turning back to full blown addiction is possible. This essential fact for this stage is that the addict or alcoholic begin to develop new coping skills and healthy habits while repairing damaged relationships or legal matters. All right. So it talks about what we were talking about earlier, coping skills. You know, developing healthy habits. So like having hobbies, surrounding yourself with positive and trustworthy people, having healthy relationships, people that you can trust, talk to, be open and honest with, doing sober and clean events, right? I always thought I had to use some type of substance or alcohol to like have a good time or even to function. And like because I was physically dependent on it as so I needed drugs and alcohol to function, right? It it's just not the case. It's really not, until I learned more about myself. But like talked about earlier, like drugs and alcohol have to go first. Begin to, you know, have a better thought process, to understand more, to actually have a different perspective on life, different perspective on yourself. You have to take out the drugs and alcohol, you know, because if you stay stuck in that, it's just a constant battle, until I surrendered and was completely absent. And it took a while. It took years, but I didn't see in the cards for me. It's just recovery starts with you. You have to take the focus off of the past or what I've done, or what the future looks like, or what am I going to do? Like we paint this picture of overwhelmness, right? We overwhelm ourselves, and that can make us run out the door. Make us not even want to try because we're putting this wall up so big that we can't see over it. So that's why I say take it day at a time. Sometimes you have to take it moment at a time. I've been there. I've been there myself, and listen, recovery and getting clean and sober is not an easy thing, but it does free you. It does free you up, and it takes time. It doesn't. This article talks about doesn't happen overnight. It just takes some willingness. It takes some work. It takes some patience and tolerance. It takes a lot of principles that we follow in recovery as well. Let's see where we're at. Stage 5. Active recovery and maintenance. If someone has reached this stage, they have gone through a thorough and tedious process. By this point, the addict or alcoholic has progressed, reflected, and done hard work on themselves. It is in this stage that the individual comes to realize that their sobriety rests on necessity of continued hard work and maintenance. This requires an active monitoring of their thoughts and behaviors, practice of new coping skills, maintaining a support system, and altering what doesn't work for them, as well as staying alert to triggers and temptations to use. One of the key factors in this stage is learning how to prevent relapse. The individual must maintain a humble attitude toward the power of addiction and not take their absence for granted. Personal vigilance is paramount and vital. Important is the continued participation in self-help groups or therapy. Additionally, one will find that this stage never ends. The addict or alcoholic will come to realize that staying sober has become a way of life, and relapse can still occur if they are not careful. Staying committed to finding an enjoyable way of life from drugs and alcohol is essential. So one thing came to my mind is like people, places, and things, right? If I want to be active in recovery and have maintaining my recovery on a daily basis, I have to eliminate people, places, and things, right? And talks about support groups, healthy coping skills. I have to continually changes my perspective, right? Not acting out when I want to, right? Talking with others before I act out. Watch what I say. Watch how I think sometimes, right? Changing our mindset. It takes a lot of work. It takes all these factors to obtain, recovery. It does. We can't. For me, I could not, put the drugs and alcohol down and just do a little bit of what has been taught to me in recovery. I have to, hop in full force and do what was taught to me. Because just my opinion and how I look at it is like I might do this, but I'm not going to do this, right? But like how long of this I'm going to do until the other foot drops, until this side takes over. So I try to, hit on all factors of recovery so I don't have to relapse. I got to continue to have an open mind and continue to listen, continue to take direction. It just, it's like you think about it, it's done not a lot, right? But at first, in early recovery, it can seem a lot, Now, I remember at one time I thought to myself, like, wow, I have to do this the rest of my life. You know what I mean? And now it came to me like it talks about this is a way of life. I make it part of my life. And foremost, I have to make it first before anything else. because if I don't have recovery first, then, everything else goes out the window real quick. I learned how powerful the disease of addiction is. It's like I like to have fun. I thought about this earlier. We like to have fun in recovery. We do uh, we do a lot of things for recovery, right? But one thing I do take serious and don't play around with it is my recovery. You know what I mean? That's the thing that I take serious because a disease of addiction, it's powerful. It's really powerful, and it's no joke. It's nothing to play with. So I've learned to have maintenance on my recovery on a daily basis. And we'll go to this. Recovery does not happen overnight. These stages of recovery are what most people consider recovery to really be active. Recovery means that the person is monitoring and maintaining their sobriety. They're living the things they learn, putting them into action, remain open to change, and actively keeping their addiction at bay. The stages of recovery have no time limits. Recovery is a process and is a never ending one at that. Most people believe that when an addict has gone through all the stages of recovery, they will remain permanently in stage 4. Recovery will be achieved through these stages of recovery, but it will never be complete. Often, the development and change you go through along the way is the most important part. While some individuals can progress through the stages of recovery with just the support of their friends, families, most will require education and new skills from a treatment program. And it talks about recovery doesn't happen overnight, and it sure doesn't. Wish it worked that way, but it don't. Um, I can give you a little glimpse of what my recovery process started to in the beginning, to the middle, to the ongoing process. I came in recovery with nothing. I really didn't have anything. I went to treatment. I barely had any clothes, and like I had no job, I had no house, I had no car, I had no license. I didn't have anything. I had education, nothing. And I had warrants at the time. I had fines, so I had all this stuff going on. And so, I came in recovery. I went to meetings, and I just stuck and stayed. Sometimes I didn't know what was going on. Sometimes I can hear something, I can listen, but I'm not really hearing, right? And being in a full room of people, still feeling alone, and it just everything. I had nothing left, right? I had nothing left in me, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick around, until like I start to understand more. The farther I got away from the drugs, the people, places, and things, and started doing some things in recovery. Little by little, I got a job, right? Got into a relationship. I got healthy relationships with my family, my friends, making new friends, uh, working on myself, getting a sponsor, getting a home group, getting a commitment, being accountable, being trustworthy, start to be honest. Little by little, life got better. It just my life has done like a whole drastic change. Um, and I thank it to recovery. Thank it to my higher power. Recovery is a journey. I'm not saying bad things don't happen here, but like I'd rather be clean and sober to live another day and then to go out and use and throw everything away. You know, that scares me today. One bad mistake, can wrap me up from a vicious run. So this will be the last part. We'll end on this one. For individuals who are departing from treatment, they can be a major shift in their family dynamic. If a person returning to the same living environment they were using in, a daily family routine may impact the recovering person's schedule. During the first year of sobriety, it is imperative that recovery be the individual's main priority at work, at home, and avoid tackling too many projects because attempting too much too soon can lead to relapse. Remember, if you are early recovery, you are completely forming a new way of life around you. You must treat lightly around the world as you reintegrate back into society. Yeah, so it talks about you know, when we get clean, we go to treatment and we're going back to an environment we used to use at. That was my story. Not in the household, but the surroundings of where I was living at. Like I went back, but like wasn't walking the streets. I wasn't hanging out with the same people. I wasn't doing the same things I was doing before. Like I was changing. I was doing things different. Which is important. I was staying busy, getting a job, hanging out with positive people. Talking with people that were clean and sober. Like I was making a new way of life for me. And it's hard sometimes cutting some people placing things out, but it's a must. It was a must for me. So that was our end of our family meeting, and it was stages of recovery. And if you like this article, it's at servernation.com. My name is Carl. I'm a recovery coach at Capital Recovery Center. You guys are more than welcome to always come in. Thank you for having me. Until I see you guys next time, we'll see you later.